Our North America correspondent Craig McMurtry joins us from Washington. Good morning, Craig. Where have the photos come from?
Karina, the photos have come from this episode back in 2010, in February 2010, and it's important to take into account the circumstances here. Essentially, it was a unit in the 82nd Airborne in Zabul province. They were asked to go to a police station to try and identify the remains of a suicide bomber. Now, this involves, it's fairly grisly to discuss, but it's the task that they were presented with. They have to take iris scans if possible and get fingerprints if possible. Now, in one of the images the LA Times has released, you can see pictures of Afghan police and some of the US soldiers posing with the remains of one of the suicide bombers. But there are 18 images in all that have been released to this US newspaper by a soldier unnamed from the 82nd Airborne. He has told the paper that he did it because he was concerned about a breakdown in discipline and what that would mean for the safety of troops. But coming on the back of so many other incidents, the accidental burning of copies of the Quran, of course, charges after a shooting rampage, charges against a US soldier after the death of 17 Afghan civilians, and earlier this year, an episode where US Marines were captured on video urinating on dead bodies. It is another awful episode for the Pentagon and coalition allies to be dealing with. A lot of the allies have been reacting today, including Australia's Defence Minister.
And is that why
It's terrible behaviour. It doesn't reflect the values and the virtues of the international security assistance force, nor does it reflect the values and virtues of NATO. It'll be exhaustively investigated and those responsible held accountable. But yes, it is a setback and it's regrettable, but it's also contemptible and deserving of the condemnation that it's got.
And this really is a very sensitive time for US-Afghan relations, isn't it, Craig?
Yes, it really is. It's a difficult time because next month in Chicago, leaders of all the coalition allies working in Afghanistan are meeting to sort out when control of combat operations will hand over to Afghan security forces and indeed the nature of any support partnership with the government in Kabul beyond 2014. It's a really difficult time. That's why US officials have been out in front on this, trying to get out in front on this, condemning it, calling it reprehensible. The White House has said it's reprehensible. A Pentagon spokesman has called the behaviour inhuman. They are really trying to keep a lid on the reaction in Afghanistan.
Now, what has the White House had to say about the Australian government's timetable for withdrawal from Afghanistan?
Well, it's interesting because, of course, Julia Gillard made the speech outlining her plans for the troop withdrawal from Afghanistan, Australia's troop withdrawal, earlier in the week. The White House is now pushing back at media reports. It's saying, taking her comments out of context, essentially pushing back at suggestions that Australia is in some sense exiting early. A White House spokesperson says that the Prime Minister's comments clearly show that Australia will continue to provide economic, political and military support. In a statement, the spokesperson says that Australia's plans are completely in line with coalition commitments, and the White House is also saying that the President looks forward to meeting with Prime Minister Gillard and other leaders in Chicago to talk about the relationship and also, more importantly, the partnership and the structure of support for Afghanistan beyond 2014 in the summit which in Chicago next month.
Craig McMurtry in Washington, thank you.